Hi, good morning. Welcome to the Pakistan Innovation Panel discussion on Stage A. So it's our pleasure to have a delegation from Pakistan flying into Macau to shed light on Pakistan's tech innovation landscape. So with us today, we have Haider Raza, co-founder of DealCart, Omair Ansari, CEO and co-founder of Abhi, Saad Raja, founder and CEO of Intellia, and our moderator, Hisham Ibrahim, Executive Director at Gobi Partners. So without further ado, I shall hand the time over to you, Hisham.
Thanks very much, Harry, and thank you everybody for joining us this morning. So perhaps a quick introduction about Gobi. We are one of the oldest venture capital firms in Asia, founded in 2002 in Shanghai, and we're now dual headquartered in Hong Kong and Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, 16 locations, and $1.6 billion in assets under management. We have 10 unicorns in our stable, including Animoca Brands, Amber Group, Air Wallets, and of course from Malaysia, Qasim. So I myself am an executive director at Gobi Partners in the Kuala Lumpur office, but also the head of investments for Pakistan. And Gobi has made a name for ourselves being one of the first, or if not the first, venture capital firm to come into a new emerging market, and that has done pretty well for us financially speaking. And so, we see an opportunity in Pakistan that is no different. Very exciting, young and exciting venture capital ecosystem. Very driven and smart entrepreneurs. And so, a lot of the world are not familiar with what the Pakistan ecosystem has to offer. So I thought that, we could bring out 3 of our top founders to Beyond this year and get them to kind of introduce themselves and get everybody a bit more familiar with Pakistan. So perhaps I'll just go down the row. I'll start with Haider. Haider, why don't you introduce yourself and what DealCart does?
Hello. Yeah, so hi guys. My name is Haider, one of the co-founders of DealCart. So we are building the Pinduoduo for Pakistan. So we get people to buy together in larger quantities for wholesale prices. And we're primarily focusing on delivering groceries at this point in time.
Omair?
Hi. Thanks for having us. I'm Omair, CEO and co-founder of Abhi. We are a B2B2C lending platform across the MENA and Pakistan and Bangladesh region. We essentially help SMEs with working capital financing and their employees with streaming their salaries in real time.
Hi, I'm Saad. I'm the founder of Intellia. So at Intellia, we're using our own AI and offshore consultants to disrupt management consulting, which we provide for 80% less cost and twice as fast as the big firms. Today, we're servicing over 100 governments, sovereign wealth funds, tech unicorns, and large multinationals.
Great. Thanks, guys. So, for those who are unfamiliar with Pakistan, let me just share some quick stats. It's the 5th largest population in the world. 240 million people, of which more than 60% are under the age of 30. Over 130 million broadband subscribers, with 1 million being added every month. So a penetration of about 55%. Digital payments has risen to over 1 billion transactions, worth $190 billion in 2023, up from just 104 million transactions 5 years ago. So that's a 10x growth. 25,000 IT graduates coming out of the local university ecosystem every year. And e-commerce that has gone from $1.7 billion to $4.7 billion in just 5 years. And this is still only represents 3% of retail spend. So a young country in terms of its digitization growth, but I think providing very strong tailwinds for our founders here. So maybe let me ask, each of the 3 of you in succession, starting with Haider. What does the Pakistan opportunity mean for you? I mean, you all have lived overseas, lived and studied overseas. So, but you decided to come back and set up your business in Pakistan. So what does the Pakistan opportunity mean for you? What are some of the market trends that are supporting your business, and how are you taking advantage of these opportunities? Haider?
Sure thing. I think firstly, from an e-commerce perspective, if we look at the larger market, what's really happening right now is that, as you mentioned, we've got this vibrant young population that is digitally enabled, but the e-commerce value add or the current incumbents right now are entirely focused on the richer people in Pakistan, the top 2, 3, 4%, right? And that's about it. That's the value proposition that they're offering: the expensive products, expensive deliveries. But really, where the mass of Pakistan lies is the middle class. Are the very large 100 million group that is now digitally enabled, but is not really and is extremely price sensitive. They're looking to save money, and a large part of what they're spending on is groceries and daily essentials. But that really isn't being catered to via e-commerce, and that's what the Pakistan opportunity means for DealCart. That's who we're building for. That is our primary customer, and that is the value proposition that we really want to cater to and serve. We want to help these people save money, bring them online, and really show them the value of e-commerce. So yeah.
Omair?
Yeah, for us, it's really fixing the credit gap. If you look at credit to GDP for Pakistan, it's amongst the lowest, if not the lowest, across the world. To put it in perspective, for 240 odd million people, there's only 500,000 unique credit cards in the entire country. So still a lot of room for growth when it comes to credit. And on the SME side, it also has one of the lowest penetrations globally when it comes to average credit capability for the average SME to be able to access. So we see that Pakistan is very similar to what I think China was in the early 2000s, and what we're seeing happen across Indonesia and Brazil now is something that we aspire to kind of grow our company into, and what the ecosystem could essentially grow into over the next decade.
So for us, our motivation to build in Pakistan is actually based on what is a global mega trend, which is that AI and remote work has actually unlocked a lot of new higher value services. And by that, I mean professional services like strategy or finance and so forth to be delivered globally. So when we say to be delivered globally, we're interested in markets that, as you pointed out, have large young populations, but good universities, so strong technology, finance talent, and where local opportunities may not be as great. So if you are able to provide global projects and opportunities to local talent, then you become the #1 place to work. So to put it simply, prior to this, people would look at Pakistan and say, let's outsource our call center there, let's get some cheap apps made there. But actually now the question we asked is, why can't a GCC government develop its 10-year strategy by some of the best analysts in Pakistan for 70 to 80% less cost and 3 times faster? And that's what we're, that's our bet.
So, Saad, maybe let me take that opportunity to ask you to delve a bit more into the Intellia business model. So you said you were disrupting management consulting globally, using AI and leveraging young graduates from local universities in various jurisdictions around the world, and obviously including Pakistan. But what does that look like on a day-to-day basis? What sort of projects are you pitching for? How do you differentiate yourself from the McKinseys, Bains, and PwCs of the world? And how do you break into a global business that is quite, I would say, entrenched, and people gravitate towards a few big brands?
Sure. So just to give some example use cases, because that brings our work to life. Right now, our analysts are helping a Brazilian oncology services firm enter Saudi Arabia, so the market entry strategy and so forth. We're also helping one of the world's largest biscuit manufacturers to see where to enter in Southeast Asia. And similarly, we're working on the talent strategy for a leading GCC government, developing the maritime tourism strategy for a country, and so forth. So what we do is, because of the markets we focus on and the deep talent that exists, and sometimes the lack of opportunities, we are really well positioned to hire the best. And we're bringing to them opportunities. So all of them, for example, are paid 30 to 40% higher than any job that they could get in the market, while our clients are experiencing a cost which is 70, 80% less. And management consulting is a sector which has literally remained the same in the last 70 to 80 years. If you break down professional services, so everybody's talking about AI, of course, but people are still figuring out which AI applications will make money. Of course, the hardware guys are making money right now. So for us, one of the biggest applications that we're betting on is AI's impact in professional services. The reason is the margins are very high. A lot of professional services rely on data, process, and people. So the data, process, and frameworks can be automated using AI, and that's what we're doing. Why people hire us? Well, a big accusation on consulting is, consulting firms take your watch and tell you the time. So we actually make a promise, which is, if you don't like our work, don't pay for it. So we put money where our mouth is. We're that confident on the service and the quality delivery. To date, we've not spent a single dollar in marketing or business development, and everything's happened organically. So we know there's a lot of consulting fatigue. If you pick up the paper, literally FT, Bloomberg, everyone's reporting this week in, week out. And I think it's time that someone challenges this, and that's what we're trying to do.
Awesome. So maybe let me switch gears a bit and try to feature our other two founders here. So maybe let's switch gears and Omair, there's a lot of lending and micro-lending startups in emerging markets around the world. Why don't you tell us a little bit about, what is unique about Abhi? And, you started off as an EWA, as an earned wage access provider. Perhaps you can tell the audience a bit about that. And then now how you have kind of expanded your product set to go beyond EWA and to go beyond individuals.
Sure. So I'd say from a differentiation standpoint versus other emerging market players, to be honest, that's not really the focal point. The point is that, and why we started the business, is that this exists in other markets which are very synonymous to where Pakistan is versus where these markets were a few years ago. So the idea is that we're playing that same trend that I think other companies such as Lishan FinTech in China did, such as Confio in Mexico did. And the idea is that what we do is really play the credit gap that exists in the country and being one of the early movers to be able to do it. This is a scale game. And when you have the early mover advantage and your ability to be able to source balance sheet and get a large portfolio, the barriers to entry suddenly become very high. So I'd say our unique advantage is more so that we are the largest player in the country and more so the region now. And therefore, the ability for someone to come in and kind of step on our toes becomes much more difficult. You're absolutely right. We started the business with earned wage access. To put it in layman terms, it's essentially the ability for someone to access their earnings as they earn it. So if you're earning, say, $10,000 a month, for example, middle of the month, you've technically earned $5,000. You should be able to access that immediately. Why do you need to wait 30 to 40 days, for example, to be able to pay that salary when you've already worked those days? So we essentially automate that process for individuals to be able to access that. That's a huge opportunity in the country, given there's a large undocumented and unbanked population who don't have access to credit. And second is we help the employers essentially fix their working capital gap, because really the reason why employees are paid late is because the employers themselves, as business owners, which tend to be majority SMEs, have terrible receivable cycles. So what we do is we say, look, if you have a good receivable, there's no reason why you shouldn't also be paid for delivering your good. So we essentially allow them to access that capital early. Remember, these are high inflationary environments. It's actually much better to be able to access credit for you to be able to have better cash flow than waiting until that kind of changes over time. So that's really the focus of the business. That's really where we see the opportunity. We're now not just in Pakistan, we're in Pakistan, Bangladesh, and the GCC, starting with the UAE and stepping into Saudi. The point is that the region is ripe for fintech players to come in and really fix what traditional banks have not done and don't really have the appetite to fix either. So that's really our reason for existence.
Great. So maybe let me ask you a follow-up question there. You know, you are helping to solve a gap of available credit to both individuals and businesses in Pakistan, Bangladesh, GCC. And so traditional banks are not lending to these people and companies, but you yourself need to rely on some form of wholesale or debt financing so that you can fund your own loan book and then lend out to these other borrowers, right, who otherwise wouldn't get credit. So how are you able to bridge that gap where other companies have not been able to?
Yeah, so from the beginning, what we did is when you're playing a new segment, no wholesale funder will fund you until you prove your track record. So we raised a large equity round for us to be able to use for our book, prove the model, and then we went to the debt markets locally in each of the markets that we operate in to be able to source wholesale debt to say, yes, look, the product works, this is what our vintage looks like, and then raise sukuks, for example, in Pakistan, raise from depositors in Bangladesh, raise venture debt or tie up with NBFCs in the GCC for us to be able to fund the book and scale the business. Because really our raw material is cash and we can't continuously raise equity to fund the business. And so we need to make sure that in order to scale this, we need to access the local debt markets and international debt markets, depending on which geography we're in.
And maybe just to give everybody a flavor of, you know, how profitable your business can be. In Pakistan, for instance, what sort of rates are you currently borrowing at, and then what are you lending out at? So what the spreads look like?
So currently we're borrowing in Pakistan at around 22 to 23%, and we're lending out at closer to 40%.
Right. So you're making a net interest margin of around 10 to 15%.
Exactly.
Amazing. More than double or triple what we're seeing in Southeast Asia. Okay, so maybe switching to Haider now. Haider, you know, you are, when we've spoken about DealCart many times in the past, obviously there's a lot of grocery, delivery, and group buying companies that have come up around Asia. Some successful, some not successful. Pakistan itself has had some predecessors before you who raised a lot of money, but didn't quite work out. What is unique about DealCart, and perhaps unlike other grocery companies around the world, you actually do emphasize a lot on offline. So perhaps you can talk about that as well.
Sure. I think so. So a couple of things, right? Firstly, in terms of Pakistan's history with grocery startups, and even in the wider region, what we've seen is a lot of focus on quick commerce, right? So getting groceries to your doorstep within anywhere between 15 to 30 minutes. And that model has worked very well in markets, in certain markets where the average order values are good, where buying power is high, so people are willing to purchase at high prices and pay high delivery fees in order to make that model work, right? So convenience, that 15 to 30-minute convenience comes at a high cost through dark stores. And if your customer is actually willing to pay that, it works, right? But Pakistan, the dynamic in Pakistan is very, very different. And I think fundamentally, that model can work, like I said before, only for, let's say, the top 2-3% of Pakistanis that can afford that service regularly, right? So high prices, imported products with higher margins, and high delivery fees. That's how that quick commerce model actually works, right? But in Pakistan, the problem is a little different, right? So people are looking to save money. There has been a lot of inflation over the past 2 to 3 years. People are generally very, very price sensitive. They're spending upwards of 50 to 60% of whatever they're earning on groceries and daily essentials. And therefore, the quick commerce model is not for the majority, right? So I think historically, that has been an issue, right, in Pakistan. And even today, the quick commerce players, I believe that while wish them the very best of luck. I think it's more of a feature of a larger e-commerce platform versus being a standalone large venture scale business on its own. And this is where DealCart is different, right? So what we're doing is that we're focusing on the main pain point, which is affordability, right? And our strategy from day one has been that we're going to be the best positioned, best priced player in the market. We're going to cater to the much larger audience that needs these savings. The masses of Pakistan, the 100 million in the middle that are now digitally enabled and are looking to save money. And how we're making this value proposition work is as follows, right? So number one, it's about the demand side. So covering the demand side first, we try to aggregate demand. So first and foremost is the gamification that we have in app, very similar to Pinduoduo in China, is getting people to buy in groups. So we have all of these daily groceries and daily essentials. And the more people that come and buy together in large groups, everyone gets a wholesale price. And of course, these groups are time bound. So I think that's one. And what that helps with is that it helps customers bring on more customers. So we don't have to necessarily spend as much on marketing as other e-commerce companies. It also helps with retention. It also helps with virality and growth. So that's the first thing. The second thing is generally actual games within the app. So we have these very simple, very fun to play games in the app. And what that helps to do is that it helps to keep bringing users back to the platform. And people who engage with our games are 30 to 40% higher, have a higher likelihood of actually converting and making a purchase. And then commercially, it's also quite viable because we're able to then sell these engagement activities to our commercial partners and make additional margins, because grocery is not a very high margin business, right? So we have to find other innovative ways to make money and make the platform actually work commercially, especially in today's day and age where funding is obviously, it's not like it used to be, a few years ago. So that's the second piece. And then the third piece is just generally the online community and trust, right? So in Pakistan, another issue that we face is that trust in e-commerce is quite low. So historically, e-commerce service providers have not been doing a great job in providing great customer experiences. So what we're doing is that we're very, very focused on customer experience, which is why we control the supply chain end to end. So we're not a marketplace. We're a retail model. We do our own warehousing. We procure directly from manufacturers, and we do our own last mile. So now this turns into a much more difficult business. We're essentially building a logistics company within an e-commerce company. So that makes it a much tougher business to do. But at the end of the day, we're providing great services to our customers and building that trust in e-commerce, which is currently missing in Pakistan. So that's on the commercial end, and then that's on the demand end. And on the commercial and logistics end, what we focus on is tier 2, tier 3 locally manufactured brands. We're not really selling high cost luxury items. We're not doing imported products. We're not doing expensive brands. Where we are only focusing on tier 2, tier 3 cheaper products that our customers love. It becomes a discovery platform for them to save money as well and to discover new brands. So from a commercial angle, that's extremely important. And then finally, in terms of our warehousing and deliveries, that's another point of differentiation versus other players in the market, is that we do next day delivery, right? So we're not quick commerce. We purposefully, very, very consciously call ourselves slow commerce. So our value proposition is that we're going to provide you the best price, but we're going to get it the next day. And what that allows us to do is that it allows us to have one single warehouse, lean logistics to serve a single market, and a lot of aggregation and logistics optimization when we're able to aggregate all of these orders coming on one day and then delivering the next. So overall, that's how we're differentiating ourselves versus what has happened in the past.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm just conscious of time here, so maybe I'll just try to wrap things up with a couple of final questions. All of you have lived overseas for some time, studying and working in London, Dubai, New York, but you all chose to come back and set up your business in Pakistan. Perhaps you can tell the audience a little bit about, what drove you to do that, and how that's worked out for you so far. Now that you all have been, first or second time entrepreneurs for quite some years now. Maybe I'll start with Saad.
Actually, before I started Intellia, I was in private equity, so investing in emerging markets. So what really excited me about emerging markets or Pakistan was, I think, the growth we're seeing in this global South-to-South trade, and how, if you look at the global macro now, regional alliances within the South-South trade corridor, how we're seeing a revival of that, right? I mean, and I think that the opportunity, I mean, if you look at any company's annual reports or presentations of traditional sectors in the West, the growth rates you see are 2, 3, at max 4% of mature industries. And in our markets, if you see anything below 10, 12%, people get scared, because that's how much growth's here. The population bulge, the number of new people coming online, and actually, even despite the challenges of emerging markets like currency depreciation and the impact of, the higher than expected impact on inflation, on consumer sentiment. And I think, what we're seeing is, if you look at investors in emerging markets, despite currency depreciation, actually, some of them have returned phenomenal returns. And that shows that the underlying growth and salient demand is there. And for me, of course, the most exciting thing was, I'm very passionate about, helping Pakistan and other markets. So we have people from Pakistan, Egypt, Colombia, Saudi Arabia, and now we're looking to expand in Southeast Asia as well, is to help turn these markets into knowledge economies. And we think that with the model we have, we want to, take a real crack at that.
Great. What about Omair?
Yeah, look, I'd say for me, I think similar to Saad, my background was in investment banking, and it was an element of pattern recognition that really drove me to say, look, if this can work in places like Indonesia and Brazil, and I remember when I was investing in those countries where now multiple unicorns have come out of, but at the beginning it was not so obvious, and there was a lot of skepticism around whether anything can actually be built in these places. As traditional businesses, why would anything new be able to disrupt this and make any changes? And the fact is that it did happen. And for Pakistan, I believe we're just at that early stage now. And given that I had that background and I had the capability of being able to raise a little bit of capital, I felt like if I didn't jump on that opportunity, then someone else would. And so it was a little bit of a self-drive and competitive force that made me feel like the opportunity is so large that if I don't do it, then who will do it, given that I have the capability of raising capital? And if I don't do it, someone else will do it. And so for me, that was really the push and drive, along with where I was in my career at the time, to take that leap of faith and back myself and try and build something that's everlasting. And make impact in our home country, and along the way, look, it's been a very tough journey. We've gone through all the nuances in the past 3 years that a typical emerging market on the tail end goes through: currency depreciation, political turmoil, economic turmoil, and it's not been easy. But at the same time, it's been when we speak to our customers across the board, the impact that we're making and the changes we're making on a micro level right now, if we're just able to stay the course and really fulfill what our mission is, I have no doubt that the sector, not just us, but the sector overall, when it comes to fintech and lending in Pakistan, is just going to be a massive opportunity. You look again at China, really what caused GDP per capita to move from the 2,000 odd mark to now above the 10,000 mark was unleashing the dragon of credit, because that allows for disposable income growth to happen. That's where you have literacy rates start increasing. That's where you allow for the middle class to really contribute to be able to grow the country. And I think that's something which we're just at the early stages of when it comes to Pakistan. And our mission is to make sure that we're able to fulfill that.
Wonderful. And Haider?
Yeah, so I think in terms of the Pakistan opportunity and the numbers and the trends we've already talked about, so I won't repeat that. But obviously, as a foundation, I think I had a extremely strong. I have a very strong conviction, and I'm very long and bullish on the Pakistan opportunity. And I believe that over the next decade or two, we will see some tremendous growth, and we've already seen some tremendous growth, and we will see some tremendous growth and great companies that will come out of Pakistan. And the idea is to get in early, right? When everyone else is going for the gold rush, it's already too late. And I did my first startup back in 2016. When I think startups were barely anything in Pakistan at that time. So yeah, my thought around this is that it's about getting in early, having high conviction over something that you believe is going to work out, and you know, if you simply just look at how other markets have developed in the past, Pakistan is following a very similar trend. There have been ups and downs, just like there are in any other emerging economy. We are no different, but the foundations, the fundamentals, it's all there, right? We just need good people to come in and build exciting things, and I think we're seeing that now, and we're seeing a lot of faith from venture capital as well, the likes of Gobi coming into Pakistan as well. That it's been and so many other names, and then on a personal level, I think it's a lot about the fact that I was in the UK. And that's an economy where its average GDP or income per household is like $40,000 to $50,000. Things are pretty sorted. If you look at it, all the basics are covered. Life is comfortable, right? And I wanted to do a startup, and I wanted to build another startup. So the choice for me really was that do I want to build for a people that are comfortable already, and perhaps build a luxury service, or do I want to go back to my country where a lot of things, there are a lot of opportunities, a lot of things are broken, which means that there are a lot of opportunities to fix a lot of things, right? And there's so many opportunities to build and really make a positive impact. So I felt that was a very obvious choice for me to come back to Pakistan, where I grew up, where I'm from, and to build something that actually benefits people and changes the landscape and the tech landscape and the e-commerce landscape in Pakistan. And then finally, I think even for me at a personal level, it was about where am I positioned to best, build something that is meaningful. So what is there's a Silicon Valley investor called Naval Ravikant, who's very active on Twitter. He says something that's brilliant, that he says that there is find yourself, the business, the people, and the opportunity that needs you the most, right? And that is exactly what's meant for you, versus trying to be someone else, one of a million. Try to find the thing that is uniquely suited to you, and I felt that the Pakistan opportunity and building this company was that opportunity for me.
Wonderful. Okay, maybe just a final question for you all. One phrase or word to describe the Pakistan opportunity and how you are thinking about the next 5 years. Something memorable to finish us off. Let's start with Haider. One word or phrase.
For me, it's a rocket ship.
Rocket ship. Very nice. Omair?
Roller coaster.
Roller coaster, okay. Good and bad connotations. And Saad?
a rocket ship that's on a roller coaster.
All right, guys. Hey, thanks so much for your time today. If anybody's interested to talk to our founders, please come up after. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a good one.